Firstly, I'd just like to say a very warm welcome to everyone this evening to our fantastic webinar on global PMO insights. You're all very, very welcome. I very much appreciate that you have taken time out of your busy evening. We very much appreciate you attending. Just to introduce myself, I'm Peter Glynn. I'm the Ireland chapter president, and I'm delighted that this evening we're joined in by Americo Pinto, who is the PMO Global Alliance Managing Director for PMI. And he's a long-term friend of the Ireland chapter. And we're delighted to be able to actually welcome him here to this event. And that I'll be handing over to him very, very shortly. Just a number of things. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Auxilian, for this event and for their generosity that makes these sorts of events possible. So a very big thank you, and very much looking forward to hearing all about the PMO practice guide. And if you have any questions at all during the event, if you can please pop them in this chat window, and we'll cover off any questions at the very end of the event. At this stage, I'm going to hand over into Americo, and very much looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, PMI Ireland chapter. It's a great pleasure for me to be with all of you today. So we have a great chance to discuss PMOs a little more, so I can share with you what's coming up at PMI in terms of what we are doing to shape the future of PMOs. Feel free to ask your questions on the chat anytime you want. You don't need to wait till the end, right? So we can have something very interactive today. For me, I'm okay with that, no problem. So feel free to participate anytime you want. Okay. So let me share with you my screen. I have a short slide deck. I believe you can see my screen now, right? I think so. If not, please let me know. So first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Americo Pinto. I'm the Managing Director of PMOGA, PMO Global Alliance. PMO Global Alliance is the PMI's global community of PMOs. So when we talk about PMOs, I'm responsible for all the topics, all the matters, right, involved with that are involved with PMO. I'm responsible for them at PMI. For those that never heard about that, actually, PMO Global Alliance was an independent organization that was founded by me years ago. So it grew a lot, and we had thousands and thousands of members around the world in more than 150 countries, a lot of important projects, certifications. So in 2023, PMI acquired PMO Global Alliance. And since then, as I said, we became PMI's PMO community. And it's important to say that actually PMO Global Alliance as an organization, it's no longer exists, right? So today, PMOGA is a brand that gives name to the PMI's global PMO community. And I still have the privilege of leading this organization now as part of PMI, as part of the executive team. So this way, we can, I could say, scale what we have been doing in the last years as PMO Global Alliance before the acquisition. Now at PMI, as part of PMI family, we can increase our skills and resources and everything that we have to reach many more people around the world. Right, we work in collaboration with other elements in our PMI family, with chapters, with the regional teams, with members, of course. We have so many volunteers working with us. So all of us, we are part of the same family. I can say that, and I'm a member of PMI for 26 years. So I started when I was very young, almost a baby, and for me, it's a great opportunity to have a chance to build a legacy of a PMO community at PMI. Well, today I will share with you something more technical, right? So my plan is to know a little more about the most recent work that we developed at PMOGA and was consolidated in a book that was released a few weeks ago, actually in February. It was released as the PMI PMO Practice Guide. So this guide is really interesting and I could say very powerful, especially in terms of shaping the future of PMOs. And that's what I'm going to show you today. I will tell you the most important aspects of this guide. So if you didn't have a chance to read it, you will understand. You have a very good overview. If you had a chance to read it, no problem. Actually, you will probably understand how things are connected and how it was developed. I believe it will be very useful for any case, right? So first of all, the development of this guide and the framework that is the heart of the guide started a long time ago, even before the foundation of PMO Global Alliance. So I'm talking about 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago, when we started a large research program. And the focus at that time was something that today everyone talks about that. But at that time, it wasn't something very trendy. It was the topic was the value of a PMO. How can we measure? How can we understand the value of a PMO? So we started this conversation, as I said, 1 decade ago. And at that time, we realized that PMOs and PMO professionals at that moment, they usually behave like this. They said, okay, we need a PMO. The PMO should be something more technical most of the time. And they relied in some publications, books, articles, experienced consultants, and there were many options of PMOs that they could choose from, like a menu, depending on the book that you read, depending on the company that you visit, depending on the consultant that you listen to. And probably when you see all of these options here, you will remember some of them. And basically, the idea was, okay, I have to take the one that is the most appropriate to my company. So if I want a strategic management office, that's the one that I'm going to take, and that's what is expected that a strategic management office should do. If you take the PMBOK, the 7th edition, the new one will be different, but the 7th edition, you will see that there were 3 types of PMOs: controlling, directive, and supporting PMOs. There are some books from great authors that they suggest 4 types, 5 types of PMOs. We have some trendy types of PMOs. For example, now people still talk a lot about the VMO, right? The Value Management Office. So this idea of types or models of PMOs is something that we've found this for a long time, since 10 years ago, so the idea that you should choose one type of PMO for your company and maybe make a transition to the next one, the best one, the something that could be better for your organization, like an evolution. It's part of everything that we saw in the PMO community in the last few years. So at that time, we decided, okay, let's try to understand that, because how can we have like types of PMOs like these ones when we visit some companies, when we talk with experienced PMOs, we see that they are very different. Each one has its own characteristics. Some of them, they try to do this and they are successful. Some of them try to do exactly the same thing and they fail. So how does it work? How could we understand this phenomenon, right? Called PMOs, and that's what we started to do. But to make a conclusion about that, we put together many PMO leaders, experienced PMO leaders. We started with a group of almost 100 PMO leaders from different countries, but at the end, our group reached hundreds of experienced PMO leaders, PMO managers, PMO directors, experts, consultants. And together we started to work on what I'm going to show you in a few minutes. Basically, at that time, we understood, and it was something very, very clear for us, that when we try to find a consensus about how a PMO should be, it's something really, really difficult. It's almost impossible, right? And why? Because PMOs are different and they should be different. So when we talk with these people, the PMO leaders, each one defends that a PMO should be in the way that they are running their PMOs, in the way that they design their PMOs. It makes sense, right? So you will believe on what works for you. It makes all sense. So this way, we saw that many people started to copy these successful experiences. And when they did that, it was like this. So the blue cube was this pre-established solution. This pre-established solution could come from a book, from a consultant, or even from another company that you found them very successful. But the problem is your company or organization is the red and green box. And what usually happens is people try to make the solutions fit. So instead of adapting the solutions, they try to adapt the organization because those solutions are the best way of establishing a PMO. So it's interesting because, as I told you, we have many points of view, many different approaches. So how could we get a consensus? How could we establish the best way of setting up, of running, of improving a PMO? So what is this best PMO model that everyone should chase? That was the big question. And we realized that there is no answer for that. So when we started to talk with PMOs, I told you, what we got was everyone was defending their way, right? And I told you that it makes sense. Good. So we realized that we had a situation where those PMOs, they were like trees in a forest, right? It means that when you look each tree, and the tree is very flourish, or it's a thriving tree, a beautiful tree. Of course, that tree is very successful. But every tree in a forest, even when they belong to the same species, actually they are different, right? And that was the point. They were different. And when we try to understand trees one by one, it was impossible to get any conclusion. So what we decided to do is we went up and we start to see the forest. When we saw the forest, we identify some patterns. For example, those trees, yes, they are successful, but look, they are close to a source of water, a river, right? Those trees, they are very successful also, but we see that they are at the top of a hill, so they get the sunlight in the morning. Those other trees, they are in a very rich soil, right? So if we bring it to the real world of PMOs, we can say that, okay, those trees, they have support from the executive executive level. Those trees, they are in a company with a high level of maturity. Those other trees, actually, they invested for a long time educating their people in the organization, and now they are taking the results, the outcomes of that. So we started to understand many things that these PMOs they had in common, but they couldn't see that by themselves because they were the trees. For them, that's the way, that's the reality, you know. So when we started to work with this, that's when we started to create what today is the PMI's PMO Practice Guide. This is the nickname because the real name is Project Management Office's a Practice Guide, but we call it PMI's PMO Practice Guide. This guide is not a standard for PMOs, right? And why? Because usually when we talk about a standard, it looks like we will find something that we should consider as a reference. So this is the best way of doing PMOs. So you should follow it. That's not what we have in this book. And that's why we call that practice guide and not as a standard, exactly to avoid this perception that when we say there is a standard, that's the way of doing something. So as a practice guide, you won't find here how your PMO should be, but you will find here the best practice that are used by the most successful PMOs when they are creating, operating, and improving their solutions. So I'm not saying that if you, what I'm saying is if you use this practice today in your company, and I use the same practice today in my company, the results will be different because we are in different companies with different demands, with different customers. So it means that we have to focus on delivering what is really needed in that specific situation. So you see that this guide can help on designing, operating, and improving value-driven PMOs. And why? Because this is what every successful PMO has in common. Actually, they understand clearly that they exist to generate value for their customers and the organization. We will discuss this a little more. But the point is, okay, we have many practice. Yeah, we have that. We have a framework. I'm going to show you that. But let me give you an example right now. So maybe to be clear, Mark, it will be clear when I try to tell you what you will find in this book. Imagine, for example, that we saw that every PMO, all of them in their own way, they were concerned about educating the organization, developing the culture and the maturity in project, program, and portfolio management. So this is something that everyone was doing. So it means that in this guide, you will find, and it's there for real, you will find a specific element that is culture and maturity. And there are some practices that you should implement to educate people. But the way that you will do that, it's your way because it depends on your level of maturity, depends on the culture of your company. So the solution, the proper solution should be designed by you. However, you have something to guide you. And if you don't have anything to elevate the culture and the maturity of your company, it means that there is a risk for your PMO. And at risk, you should manage this risk. So the risks of the PMO, they are not the project risks, they are not the company risks, they are the risks of your PMO. They should be managed. So there is another element in this book that talks about managing PMO risks. So again, everything that you are doing can connect with this guide if you are following the practice, but always in your way, right? So there are many aspects, the relevance, many aspects that should be considered on this. So when you think, okay, Americo, but we have many books on PMOs. We have, for example, P3O, right? Very well known in your region. So it means that this book will replace all of this? No, that's not the intention. Actually, this book will connect all of them because all of these ideas, books and previous experiences on PMOs, consultants, everything, they are perspectives on how your PMO could be. But none of them will be the right answer because none of them consider your real situation, your reality. They don't know about it. The only one that knows about that is you. So it means that you can drink from all these sources of knowledge, all these sources of inspiration, and you will be able to create your own solution guided by this book. That's the idea. So this book cannot replace all these perspectives because they are perspectives, but it can connect all of them in a way that you won't take one because you need to select just one from many of them to follow blindly, but because you should learn from many of them and then be able to create your own solution based on the practices of this book. That's the idea. All right. So everything connected with the idea of generating value, of course. So let me tell you a little more about this. This is an interesting survey that we've been repeating every single year. But value, since the very beginning, was always a very big source of concern. So in our most recent edition, you can see that value appears more than one time, right? And the most important challenge that we mapped was the recognition of PMO's value. See that we have two different things. We have showing value, demonstrating value. How can we do that? So we are talking about indicators, and many other things that you can find at the guide. But there is another important point. Sometimes you are showing the value, but it doesn't mean that the value is being recognized by your customers, right? By the organization. And there are reasons for that, to discuss some of them in a couple of minutes. So value is the big challenge. How can we generate value? So any PMO that is not focused on generating value probably will be dead soon or later, right? Because you are not working for anyone and you are not serving anyone in your organization. You are serving yourself, technically speaking. So it doesn't make any sense. So based on this, a very important question came up. What does value mean for your PMO? Because at first glance, we could imagine that value means money, right? Value means ROI. Okay, how much our PMO is contributing to improve the ROI of our projects or our business. Okay, it makes sense. But on the other side, the reality showed that depending on where you are, depending on the company, depending on uh, who you are, who your customers are, sometimes depending on the culture of your organization, the industry, the culture of your country, the idea of value can be different. Let me give you an example. If you go to, I don't know, to the US, right? ROI probably will be the most important driver for many companies and many PMOs. But if you go to the Middle East, right? Money maybe is not exactly what moves them. It's also money, the return, but there is also visibility, prestige. You know what I mean? Another example, industries, different sectors. If you are working for a private company, it's a way. There is a way. If you are working for the government, it's not only money, right? Value can be showed in different ways. So it means that what people expect from the PMO can be different from company to company. So we cannot assume that every single organization and every single customer that you are serving at your organization will have exactly the same expectations, will understand value in the same way. So this is the first discussion, right? We have to understand how our customers and how our organization will recognize value. It makes us understand something very important, that value as beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So value is not what you believe that value is. Value is what people feel that is something valuable for them. So this is something very important, and it is in the very heart of this guide of this book, right? We have to be flexible. So you could say, okay, Americo, but I've been working in a very successful PMO for the last 15 years, right? And now I moved to another company. So what I'm gonna do is exactly what I've been doing in my last company. And that's when people fail. And why? Because you couldn't realize that now things are different. It's a new company with new customers, with new strategy, with new demands, with new pains. And the way that these people, this organization will see value can be very, very different. If you don't realize that, you will just come up with a pre-established solution that not necessarily fit the real needs of this organization. Also, past success in your PMO doesn't ensure future success. And why? Because PMOs also change from time to time because companies change, the strategy change, new customers come, old customers leave, so everything will change. So the PMO is very dynamic. It's also being redesigned. And that's why this book will bring to you the concept of a cycle. There is a cycle that was defined as 1 year cycle, because at least every year you could rethink your PMO and check if some changes are needed or not. Okay, so based on this, the book brings a customer-centric approach for value-driven PMOs. And why a customer-centric approach? This is important. PMOs, they are support areas like finance, accounting, IT, but the way they behave is different. And why? Because they are like service providers, actually. Think with me. Nobody will challenge if we really need an accounting department. Oh no, we don't need an accounting department. We can cut costs and just shut down the accounting department or the IT department. It doesn't happen. But what about the PMO? Yeah, it happens, and happens with, sometimes frequently. Because a PMO as a service provider is something that will be kept while your customer understand that your support is needed, your support is valuable. If I don't see the value of what you are doing, why should I spend money with you? It's a waste of resources, a waste of money. And then PMOs are shut down or they lose relevance. So it means that we need to understand very well who our customers are. And we have many of them. They can be the executives, the C-level, project managers. Usually they are in the business area, not in the PMO, functional managers, project team members. All of these people, they will be our customers. And why? Because they will be served by the PMO in some way. The way that the PMO serves these people is providing services, of course, right? And these services, they will exist to solve specific needs, to deliver specific results, to heal specific pains. And this is something very important because we are saying that we should capture needs, define solutions, and deliver expectations. So as a doctor, right? So as a doctor, you will understand your patient. You will try to provide a solution, right? So you prescribe some medicines, and you expect that the outcome will be that the patient will be healed. And when you ask the patient, hey, are you feeling better? They will say, yeah, I'm feeling much better. So the value is being recognized. So the idea is exactly the same. You could imagine, okay, Americo, you are saying that we need to capture needs. So you are saying that I should come to my customers, to my directors, for example, and ask them, hey, what do you want? I could provide you many different things, many different services. I could provide you with a methodology. I could support portfolio management. I could provide you and your teams with training. I could provide some reports. That's not how things work. And why? Because imagine that you have a pain in your head, right? You have a headache and you go to a doctor. When you get to the doctor look to you and say, hey, what you would like to take? I have this list of medicines. Choose what you want. It's not what you expect, right? You expect that you can speak about your pains and the doctor will translate that into solutions. And that's exactly what we are talking about. The language of our customers is different from the language that we speak at the PMO. The language of our customers is based on outcomes, on results. So there is no executive that really wants a portfolio management. No. What they want is to make better decisions about the portfolio or connecting those projects with the strategy. What they want is that when we need to assign someone to a project, we have people with competence for that. They don't want training sessions. You know what I'm saying? So the point is, when we collect expectations of our customers based on what they need, based on their pains, it will be much easier for us to prescribe the solutions, the medicines, the services. It can be, as I said, training, methodologies, reports, portfolio management. There are many ways of addressing their needs, their real needs. So this is the spirit of this guide. The guide tells you that if you want to generate value, the best way is understanding what your customers really need and delivering their needs, delivering the outcomes they expect in the best way possible. That's the idea, right? So based, based on this, the guide brings a framework that is named PMO Value Ring. PMO because that's the topic, right? Value because that's what we are trying to generate, and ring because remember I told you that we have cycles. So every cycle we have to at least assess our PMO and rethink many times how we will continue to deliver value to our customers, right? So this way we can be recognized, and being recognized, we can become trust-based partners for them. So this is what we are looking for. Well, let me tell you a little about this framework. This is the framework at a first glance, very colored, and it can look a little confusing, but it's not. It's very simple. Let me tell you how. You see first that we have a layer number one that is made of 4 items, right? These 4 items, they are called organizational baseline elements. These items, they are like the ground, the soil where you will build your PMO. They are not about the PMO. We don't have a PMO necessarily at this moment. It's about the company. It's about the strategy of your company. It's about the structure of your company. It's about the culture and the maturity, the organizational maturity in project, program and portfolio management of your company with a PMO or without a PMO. It's about the industry where you are. Because, for example, if you are in a capital project industry, it will be different from a technology industry, right? Things are different. The way that you manage projects and the way that these projects come up every year. So I'm telling you that first we need to understand where we are. So you will find at the guide assessments and practice that will show you how much connected with your company you are as a PMO, right? The second layer, number two, is we have the pillars of a PMO. Now we have the ground and we have the pillars. We have three pillars, right? They are the PMO structural components. These three pillars, they are very important. The first one is the PMO mandate. The PMO mandate will tell us what your PMO is, the mission of your PMO, why it exists, right? So who it will be serving, right? Uh, so the most important aspects about your PMO will be defined in the PMO mandate in a high level. So the output of the PMO mandate is the PMO charter. So in the same way that we have a project charter, we have a PMO charter. So this is the PMO mandate. The PMO governance tell us how we will connect with the organization. I'm not talking about the project governance, portfolio governance. No, no, no. It's the PMO governance. So the PMO governance will define the authority of the PMO, how it will interact with customers, with the organization, many different stakeholders. So everything is defined in the PMO governance. It's one of the pillars. We need that very well defined. And finally, the PMO strategy. Let me tell you a little more about that. The PMO strategy, again, it's not the company strategy, right? It's the PMO strategy. So it means that as a PMO, you need to generate value. And generating value is a journey, right? A journey. Maybe in the first year, that's what you can do. In the second year, that's my plan. In the third year, so in the first year, I will bring this specific customers, right? Those customers that I know they are more resistant, I will bring them in the second year when I already have something to show to them, you know? So the strategy of the PMO is very, very important. It's where everything that you are planning to do will be based. So three pillars, the PMO mandate, the PMO governance, and the PMO strategy. And now, over this, over these pillars, we have the PMO customer experience cycle. I told you that we have PMO customers, right? Those people that we are serving to. So now I have a cycle, an annual cycle, a cycle that is made of 5 stages. We will explore opportunities with them. We will design or redesign our PMO every cycle. We will deploy our solution, right? We will enhance our solution to improve the outcomes that we are generating, and we will check the realization of value. Okay. And how can we do that? That's when we go to the details. You will find at the guide something that is named the value generating PMO flywheel. I don't know if you had a chance to read the book Good to Great from Gene Collins. He brought this idea of flywheel. So flywheel is a big wheel that you have to move, and it's very heavy. So to start moving it, it's difficult. But when you get some momentum, it becomes easier. And that's exactly the idea. The first cycle is much more difficult because there is there isn't a lot to show, in terms of value, in terms of outcome, because you are just in the beginning. But you get some momentum, and then the second cycle will become easier, and the third cycle, and the fourth cycle. That's the idea. right? So you will see that this flywheel is made of 10 steps. I'm going to show you in details. In the center of this model, of course, we have the PMO customer, right? So it's a customer-centric model. So everything is on our customer. So this flywheel, the flywheel, it break it breaks down the cycle for each stage cycle. So you see that we have awareness building, needs assessment, value proposition, service development, service onboarding, service operation, and so on. For each one, again, we have assessments, we have good practices, things that you have to think and create ways of when you have your PMO. Oh, Americo, but my PMO is mature. Okay, you can review this practice and check how you are doing them. Maybe there's something new that you never thought about that. If you are a new PMO, you can check and see, okay, actually we didn't forget anything, everything was considered, and so the chances of being successful will be higher. Let me call your attention to something interesting here. When we see realization, you can see that we have two steps, value delivery and value recognition. This is something very important in this model because value delivery is something more tangible. So you are saying, hey, that's the outcome that I promised to you. It's here. Value recognition, it's like, okay, when you ask your patient, the patient says that now he is feeling better or not. Let me give you an example. In needs assessment, step 2, right? When we talked with our director, he said that he couldn't make decisions on the portfolio because he can't see connections between projects and the strategy. This way, he feels that he can't make good decisions. Okay, this is the pain. This is the need, right? So that's what we need because remember, we are talking the language of our customer. The value proposition is when you will provide a solution for that. Well, if he wants to make better decisions based on connections between projects and strategy, I believe that if we support portfolio management, especially the design of the portfolio, when we select and prioritize projects, it can give him a better understanding of these connections. And this way, he will be able to make better decisions. That's what I'm assuming. Okay, good. The service that we will provide is support portfolio management. So in step 4, we will develop the service, how it will happen, so in each company, it will be different. All right, on step 6, we will deliver the service. So we'll start to do that, but let's go to step 9 and 10. On step 9 is like, I will measure if I'm delivering the outcome. So look, this is the report or the map that show all the connections between the strategy and projects, and we can have some recommendations from the PMO. Okay, so it means that in theory now he could make a better decision. Step 10 is when I come to that person and say, hey, how do you feel now? Do you believe that you can make better decisions now with what we are providing to you? So the natural answer you could think is, oh, of course, now, I have this specific map and it's easier for me to make make a decision. However, things are a little different. And why? Because actually, uh, sometimes there are many reasons for that. We don't have time to discuss all of them. But sometimes, even when you provide the tangible value, it doesn't mean that your customer understands value as a real benefit because outcome becomes a benefit, but benefits happen at the mind of your customers. If they don't see that as something beneficial for them, there is no benefit, even with an outcome. So this is something that the book brings to us, and it's a very powerful idea. I believe it means that you need different indicators to measure step 9 and step 10, right? And uh, close to the end, I want to show you a summary of what you will find, what you is of PMO. This value, it's something that will be part of many different steps, right? But the way that it works is very, and I do you feel that it makes a lot of sense. Look, everything starts with needs, right? We have to discover our customer needs because they will drive expectations, right? So basically, after that, we need to design our offerings. So it means that we are talking about services. So the services that the PMO will provide, and they are our response to the needs that we identify. Okay, so we have needs, we have services. These services, they will deliver concrete things, right? Concrete stuff. They are the outputs. For example, reports, the methodology, training sessions, all of this, they are outputs, right? When we have when we have some competences available in our customers, so they know how to use these outputs, it means that we enable change. So we have the outcomes. So now, based on the outputs that we deliver, for example, a report, we can have outcomes, potentially speaking, right? Because they are prepared to use that outcomes in the way they need. However, the benefits, they are about recognition. As I said, benefits, they happen, they become reality in the customer's mind. So now all these outcomes, they are perceived as a benefit by our customers. And remember that benefits, the perception of these benefits, there is something interesting because every output and outcome that you are generating, sometimes we have benefits, positive, but we can have something negative. We could call these benefits. For example, now I have reports. Yeah, the reports are there. I can make a decision. However, to make these reports available, it's something that puts a lot of pressure in many people in our organization, and they are very upset with that, creating resistance. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes to generate something positive, you can have some consequences, right? So the benefits means that, okay, what I have in terms of positive outcomes, I recognize them as something. I recognize all the impacts, but the balance between these two things is positive for me. So I recognize the value that you are generating for me as a customer. And the value of a PMO is the balance of all our customers, because that's what make a PMO being recognized in its organization. So now I have many different customers, and all of them, or at least in a balanced way, the most relevant customers, for example, the C-level, they will be more relevant, of course. They understand, all of them understand that the PMO is something positive for the organization. That's the idea. Okay. So that's when we have the value and the organizational trust. So needs, services, outputs, outcomes, benefits, and value. That's what you will find at the guide. This guide is connected with our certification, PMI, PMOCP, our gold standard certification, the first one provided by PMI, and of course it will become the gold standard certification for PMOs in a very few time. And my final message for you, and then I can open for questions and respond those that you already posted. PMO value is not claimed, it's earned and recognized. Only when outcomes and benefits are clearly perceived as worth the effort, the PMO is truly valued. That's what we see in the most successful PMOs around the world. Okay. And finally, I'd like to share this QR code with you, because if you want to register in our PMOGA online community platform, that's where you'll find the platform. It's pmogaonline.pmi.org. So there you find our members, more than 10,000 people around the world. We have people from Ireland, our hubs, the Europe hub of PMOGA is also there. It's the virtual home of our regional communities. So you'll be very welcome, and you will find more information that can complement the guide. You will find articles, tools, many things that are available there. Okay, so basically that's what we have.
Thank you, Americo.
Absolutely, Mark.
Really fabulous. Really fabulous presentation. Thank you. I mean, for me, there were three areas really that resonated. One was the value around the PMO and the value proposition, and then customer centricity, I think, is such an important point for all PMOs. And the PMO value ring, I think it's an amazing model. Absolutely. And thank you so very much for an absolutely amazing presentation. We have time for a few questions. The first question is from Eurus. Would project managers reporting to PMO organization is perceived as PMO customers or as PMO means to achieve results to end clients, the broader organization? I think the question there is, how would project managers focus on achieving results into the end client as part of a PMO?
All right. So first of all, it's important to say that there are many approaches for this, right? We have some companies that all project managers, they are in the business areas. There are other companies that project managers, they are part of the PMO. And there is a very usual approach that is most of the project managers, they are in the business areas. However, when we have like some strategic projects that will need a full-time dedication, we have some project managers that are part of the PMO managing these projects, because they are projects that will impact many different areas, you know. So these three approaches are different. So if the PMO, if the project manager is part of the PMO, these people, they are not customers, they are PMO. If they are in the business areas being served by the PMO, they are PMO customers. Okay, so I think this was the topic of the question in a sense. Am I right? The beginning, that's what.
Yep, that seems to be that. Yeah. Okay. Actual topic. So
all right.
Thank you. We have another question from Gautam, I think it is, and this is a very important question. What are the training options available for the PMO CP certification?
All right. Today we have e-learning available. Like there is a PMP prep course available at PMI.org. We also have one for PMOCP certification, right? So it can help you a lot. But also, as I said, if you join our online community, you will find some additional materials that can help you with that. We are always posting something new, so I believe it can help. So the official material is available on PMI.org. It's something that you can acquire, or you can also count on this additional material. It's additional because It's not a certification course, but anyway, it's an additional material that can help you too.
Great, thank you. Here's another question from Gillian McNamara. Is the PMO CP qualification it's going to replace PGMP?
Well, in which way? Maybe because it's more segmented, more like a niche. There are many ways of interpreting this question, right? So if you ask me, okay, PMOCP is a certification for million of people. Of course not, because the PMO audience is, come on, maybe 10% of the project management audience, right? If you go to a big company, if you find 500 project managers, maybe you will find 5 people at the PMO. That's what I'm talking about. However, I'm sure that for people that work at PMO, it will become something increasingly important for all of them, because we are talking about PMI, so this guide will shape the future. I have no doubt about that, and especially because it's good. And also, it's important to say that today the audience of the certification is made of PMO leaders, and you can understand that as directors, managers, coordinators, PMO members, so analysts, people that are working at PMOs, but we have also people that want to work at PMOs, like project managers, and it's very common in many great PMOs that we have some people that they are not project managers, they have some experience in projects, but they start directly at the PMO because the PMO role is different from the project manager role. Actually, it demands different competences. So it means that sometimes we assume that to be a good PMO professional, you need to have previous experience on managing projects. It's not true, because it depends on what you will do at your PMO. Remember that there are many different services, right? And some of them are not managing projects. So it depends, right? But anyway, it's a great opportunity for any of these professionals that I mentioned.
Makes sense. Here's a question from Kieran. In an organization that operates without a PMO, how do I take the first steps to show the value that a PMO can bring?
Right. My suggestion for you is take a look on the guide, and you will find an appendix at the end that is a very, very interesting assessment that will let you, speaking the language of your customer, you can have a kind of survey where you will try to map their priorities in terms of outcomes, the pains I told you. And this way, when you have these results, you will find a database. It's available in our online community. There is a spreadsheet that you can use for that. We service the chances, the probability of generating each outcome came from the community, from the experience of the right. So if you tell Americo, that's what I want, okay, this is what you have to do. If you have a headache, this is the best medicine based on the experience of the community. Of course, you don't need to follow it, but it's something that can help. And I'm saying that because this way you can check how aligned your PMO is. So you know what they want. You can set which are the services that are recommended by the community, and you can check your all services. And you see, oh, okay, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. No, I'm not doing this. Maybe it's an opportunity. Or I'm doing this, and actually it looks like it doesn't address any real need. Maybe I'm wasting resources, because I suppose that we should do that. But actually, based on the community experience, it doesn't look to address what they really want. You know what I'm saying? So at least it will make you think. And this way you can connect much better with this idea of generating value. Because the first step is, if I want to deliver value, I need to provide you with solutions that can help with the expected value, right? So I believe it can help in a very practical way.
Great. Thank you, Americo. Fabulous presentation, fabulous event. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm sure that everyone else on the call very much has as well. So a very big thank you to you for taking time out of your very busy diary. I know you're
Absolutely.
incredibly busy at the moment. So a big thank you. Just a number of very quick things. Just to highlight that we have an event on lunchtime tomorrow with our sustainability community or practice on sustainability strategy. Highly recommend that. You can register on the PMI Ireland website. And also wanted to highlight that we have a really exciting event coming up on June 26th, which is all about AI Learn and Build. And that is a full training day with an opportunity to actually get to take part in teams where you can build and shape a real AI solution in the project management world. Fantastic opportunity, highly recommend it. And the details are on the PMI Ireland website. And finally, I would really just like to say a very big thank you again into Americo for this fabulous presentation. And thank you into all of you for taking the sort of time out of your very busy diaries today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great pleasure. Anytime you need me, feel free to keep in touch. And later, if you want to go deeper in a specific subtopic, like let's talk about value proposition, let's talk about indicators, just let me know, because we are going deeper in many of these topics. So today it's just an overview, right? But we can talk about fantastic aspects in a much more detailed discussion.
That would be fab, and we'll definitely take you up on that offer, Americo. Absolutely. And finally, just to bring everything to a close and to say thank you very much to everyone for your time, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.